On the recording. Thank you. So you guys, through taking that second version of the quiz, the scores were significantly better, and they will get posted on. You will get a chance to see them tomorrow. But now that you seem to have a better handle on how to solve two-step equations, and it'll just get even better the more that we practice it. We're moving on to the word problems. And the word problems, guys, you have been doing this. In fact, you do this pretty naturally on your own. When there's something that you're wanting to purchase, maybe in your mind you're thinking, okay, well, I've got this much money saved up, and if I put this much money aside every single week, it'll take me this many weeks to get to it. That's a word problem. You're naturally doing that already in your head. You've got an assignment for Mr. McNeely when you have to read a book. Okay, I've read this many pages. I have to have it read by this date. That's this many days. So here's how many pages I have to read every single day to get there. You do that all the time already. So it's natural. You're just now having to formulate it using actual vocabulary, actually variables and coefficients and solving it. But it's a natural process for what you're already doing. Okay? So this is kind of just a step-by-step walking through that process. And then we're going to do a couple of examples together. You'll finish the remainder of it on your own. But just as a reminder of some of that terminology and vocabulary that we look for when we talk about a coefficient. A coefficient is that value that is side by side. It's a pairing with a variable through multiplication. The words that we look for to help us remember that this is a coefficient value, we typically look for per, each, every, or some form or variation of that term. Per, each, and every, or a variation of it. That lets us know it's a coefficient. It also lets you know about the variable. So I'm going to put those together. Then you've got that one-time value that happens, and we call that the constant. So remember, we said a constant is your one-time value. Like you pay a fee, a startup fee, a registration fee, a monthly fee, okay, or an initial value. I have this much money already saved. I've already read this many pages in the book. So those are those initial values or the one-time values. That's your constant. And that's the number that gets added or subtracted in the problem. Shh. Okay, so in a situation like this, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see it better, even though you've got it in front of you. Okay, it says a new one-year membership at Roswell Tennis Center costs $160. The registration fee is $28 and it's paid up front. So once you pay it, you don't pay it again. The rest of the money is going to be paid monthly. So we want to know, how much do new members pay each month? So we want to know how much is going to be paid each month for that entire year. Do we know how many months are in the year? 12. So we know that value to be paid for each month. We know that the value of months is 12. We just need to know how much are they going to pay for each of those months. And that's the information that we need to answer. What is the cost per month going to be? So we want the cost per month. That means your variable is going to represent the cost. So if our variable is going to represent the cost, what kind of letter do you think we would use? C. Makes sense. Talking about cost or money, you could put C. I wouldn't put M for money because then what might people accidentally think it's going to be? Months. They might think months. Okay, but we're not looking at the number of months. We're looking at the money, the cost that it's going to be for each of those months. So then we write the equation. So we've already broken it down a little bit here to make it easier. The registration fee, that's going to be your constant. So what was our registration fee? $28. So right here, that's our one-time value that we are paying up front. Pay it once, and then it's done. So we fill that in with 28. Plus, you have to pay that monthly cost for the year. How many months again is it? 12 months. So my coefficient is going to be a 12 because I know I've got 12 months. And every single month, I'm going to pay the same cost, C. And once I've paid off my monthly cost, and I paid that upfront value of 28, what should my total cost for that 1 year be?
40.
Somebody said 160 because it says it right here. The new 1 year membership is $160. Please, I had a couple people last period also say 40 because I know what you guys did is you added that together. Can you add 28 and 12C? Why not? They're not like terms, right? One has a variable and one does not. You cannot combine them. That would be like saying, I'm going to bake cookies with Brussels sprouts. Ugh. Do you want to bake cookies with Brussels sprouts? A vegetable that most kids don't seem to like. Okay? Brussels sprouts are good, but you won't want to bake cookies with it. Okay, so $160 is that new membership cost for the year. That's what it's set equal to. That's what our total is supposed to be. Once you've got the equation set up, then you can go ahead and solve using inverse operations. So I know my equation is 28 plus 12C to equal 160. I now need to go through step by step to solve it. What is the first inverse operation that I need to perform here? EJ. And what am I subtracting from both sides? 28. I need to subtract the 28 from both sides. That now leaves me with 12C equaling 132. What's the next inverse operation? Julian? Division. So we're going to divide both sides by what? 12. Divide both sides by 12. And that will give me my value of C, which I need to do in blue because that's my variable. And what will C equal? What's 132 divided by 12? 11. So the cost, it's $11 each month. I want to make sure that I write that down. I don't just want to give a number. I need to give what it represents. What is it standing for? That is the cost each month. All right, let's take a look at number 2. Jasmine's cell phone company charges her $35 for a month of service plus 50 cents for each text message. They want to know how many text messages does Jasmine send in a month if her bill was $52. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is write an equation using T for the number of text messages. So they're already telling us what our variable is. T represents the number of text messages. That's your variable. So go ahead and underline that in blue so that we know that that's our variable value. Since I'm already told my variable to use, I'm using the letter T, and I write it down. And all I have to do is fill in the rest of that important information. The coefficient, the constant or that one-time value, and what the total thing is going to equate to. So let's start with that coefficient. Where in here do we see a coefficient value? Allison. The 0.50, because it says 50 cents for each, that key word right here, each text message. So in front of the T, I need to put 0.50. That's my coefficient. Now, my one-time value. What's my one-time value, Joel? 35. Okay, they're going to charge me for service, $35 for the phone service. So I pay $35, and on top of it, I pay a random amount of money for however many text messages I would have. And it already tells me my operation that it's going to be plus, so that makes it easy. So I'm going to add 35, and that's going to equal my total bill. What's the total bill? 52. So the total bill is 52, so it's equal to 52. So there, you've written your equation. Part B is to solve the equation. And that's important. You guys have to do both steps. You have to write it. You have to solve it. So 0.50t plus 35 is equal to 52. What's the first inverse operation that we need to perform, Joel? Subtracting what? Subtracting 35. Don't just tell me the operation, tell me the value as well, guys. So we're going to subtract 35 from both sides. That's going to give me 0.50t, and that's going to equal what? Not 21. 17. Good. 52 minus 35 is 17. What's the next inverse operation, Chris? Of, what are we dividing by? 50 cents. Again, tell me the operation, tell me what number, okay? So we're going to divide both sides by 50 cents by 0.5 or 0.50. Okay, and that will give us the amount of text. So how many text messages can she send in that month if she's only spending $52, Kingston? 34. So don't just put 34, put 34 text messages. Don't put 34T. You write 34 text messages. Okay, let's look at the problem next to it. Number 3. Caroline's Coffee Shop sells a refill mug for $8.95. Each refill costs $1.50. Last month, Sean spent $26.95 on a mug and refills. How many refills did he buy? So that happens, guys. Starbucks does the same thing. You buy one of their little mugs, and when you go in, you get a discounted amount for the coffee. So as long as you use the mug, they give you a discount. So this is a real situation that a lot of adults use for discounted coffees. So you need to make sure that you understand that process, especially if you're trying to budget. You know, as you get older, you want to budget a certain amount. You need to know how much you can spend before you go over your budget. Yeah. Okay, so for here, the first thing we want to do is understand what the variable is. What is the variable going to represent? R for what? Refills. So R is going to represent the number of refills. So there's our variable. Okay, next thing, find the coefficient. What's the coefficient? What words do we look for coefficient again, guys? Per, each, every. Jasmine? 150. It says each, right there, each refill costs $1.50. So we're going to put $1.50 R. $1.50 R. Okay, now let's talk about our constant. What's our one-time purchase? The one-time purchase is what, Kimberly? Because what are we purchasing only once? The mug, right? You only have to purchase the mug one time for $8.95. Once you buy the mug, that's it. You pay for it, you get to use it over and over and over again. It's a one-time purchase. So we add the $8.95 on. And how much did he spend for that whole month on the coffee refills and the mug, EJ? $26.95. Okay, so he purchased for $26.95. He purchased the mug and the refills. That's the whole cost for the month. So there's your equation. Now you have to solve it. That's right. So we have $1.50 R, $26.95. $1.50 R plus $8.95 is equal to $26.95. Now we solve it. What's the first inverse operation that we're going to do? Mia. Subtraction, $8.95. Good. So we're subtracting $8.95 from both sides. Subtracting $8.95 from both sides. So that leaves us with $1.50 R is now equal to 18. 18. Okay, what's the next inverse operation that we're going to need to perform, Mackenzie? Division of, very good. Divide $1.50 on both sides. So what's 18 divided by $1.50, guys? 12. So R represents 12 what? Refills. Don't forget to place it back in with the problem. What does it relate to? It relates to the refills. 12 refills. Simple process? Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, Elkin's Point basketball team purchased equipment and uniforms. So they buy equipment, they buy uniforms. So if we're buying two things, we take the cost of both and add them together. Equipment plus uniforms, and that's our total cost. The equipment is going to be $612. The uniforms are $25 each. How many uniforms can the school buy? So we're going to use U for the number of uniforms. That's our variable. Number of uniforms is our variable. What's the coefficient? What's the coefficient?
25 each.
25 each. Very good, Bryant. 25 each. The uniforms were $25 each. So there's our coefficient to the uniform. 25. What's the one-time value, Julian? 612. You pay for equipment and you're done. You only have to pay it once. Woo. Buy the equipment one time. So we've paid 612. And what was our total cost for uniforms and equipment combined? 912. Right? Equipment and uniforms, total cost, 912. So then we solve it. 25U plus 612 equals 912. What's the first inverse operation? Kingston? Subtract 612. Good. We're going to get 25U is now equal to 300. What's the next inverse operation? Joel? Divide by 25 on both sides. And what will U equal? 12. And 12 what? 12. What does it represent? Uniforms. 12 uniforms. Try number 5 on your own right now. Don't talk through it. Just try it out. Let's see if you can get what I get. Identify your coefficient. Identify your constant. What does it all equal? Then solve. instead of doing the multiplication? Like, what if you're subtracting from it instead? We'll go over problems like that soon. Not today, but it is. It makes it easier to follow. Everything step by step. Our class goes by fast. Time flies when you're having fun. All right, let's go ahead and go over it real quickly because the time's almost done. The variable, quiet. The variable is going to be H, which represents the number of hours it took to repair the computer. The computer. The cost, the coefficient, is the labor per hour. So how much the labor is going to charge per hour, which is 45. So it should be 45 H. Then you have to pay for parts only one time. You purchase the parts and you're done. So you add the cost of the parts of $44, and that comes out to a total of $179. That's the total cost to repair the computer. So then when we solve it, 45H plus 44 equals 179. Your first inverse operation is to subtract 44 from both sides. That's going to leave you with 45H is now equal to 135. Then you're going to divide. You divide both sides by 45, and you get that your hours is 3. 3 hours. Finish the rest of it for homework. Plus, hold on. Wait. Quiet. Up at the top. Up at the top here, I also want you to write down your IXL. You have an IXL assignment that needs to be completed by Friday, this Friday. So up at the top here, I want you to write in a little tiny box, IXL, and it's due Friday, 9/27. You have an IXL assignment due Friday. You need to get a SMART score. Remember, it gives you a SMART score, which is essentially like a percentage. You only need a SMART score of a 60. Once you get to a 60, or a little bit above 60, you can stop. You'll go to grade 7. Grade 7, you have the standard S.5 and S.6. Then you need to go to grade 8. Very rarely do I send you to grade 8, but in grade 8, I want you to finish W.14. W.14. Again, you have till Friday to get those 3 standards completed. Tomorrow, we're going to check the second page of these word problems. I will.